In this video, I'm going to give you 3 tips to instantly improve your sound on the drums, and none of them have to do with tuning. Let's get started. Now these 3 tips today all have to do with common mistakes that I see a lot of my students make, and myself included, through the years of getting better at the drums. So hopefully this video will provide some insight on you of some things to check out. The first tip has to do with the setup of your drums, making sure that everything is super comfortable for you to play on, and the biggest culprit of this tends to be the drum throne. If we are seated in an uncomfortable position, too close to the kit, too far away from the kit, too high or too low, this is going to cause a lot of strain on our legs especially, and hinder the sound that we're creating on the drums. My general rule of thumb for seat height and seat placement is I want to keep my hip bones above my knees, and I want to keep my knees slightly behind my ankle bones down there. So you can see on the side cam, I'm seated high enough where my hips are above my knees and my ankle bones are slightly in front of my knees. And what this does is it allows my legs to stay relatively relaxed while I'm playing. And I'm also seated far enough back that I'm not so close to the drum set that I have to exert a lot of effort to lift my legs when I play. I do use both heel up and heel down technique in both of my feet, so making sure that I'm seated far enough back to be able to do heel down especially is important. Otherwise, you definitely feel a strain in your shin after doing that for a while. And I don't know about you, but definitely on super long gigs, I feel some left leg fatigue right behind my kneecap if I am seated too close to my hi-hat stand. The next thing having to do with setup deals with all of the drums, especially the snare drum, since that's the drum that you're going to be playing on most frequently. Make sure that your snare drum is high enough that it's clearing your thigh when you go to hit a rim shot. What we want to try to avoid is you hitting your leg every single time you play a snare drum shot, because that gets uncomfortable and it's pretty much an inefficient transfer of energy into the drum. I play matched grip, so I tend to like to have my snare relatively flat. It is slightly angled towards me, and that just allows for an easier rim shot when I go to play. I have my toms relatively flat as well, and because I'm seated high enough, I'm able to have my rack tom here relatively flat and lower, so it's more so on a similar playing plane as my snare drum, and this makes it a lot easier to get around the drums. My ride cymbal is in a position where it's high enough so I can crash on it if I need to, but it's low enough so when I go for a normal hit, the tip of my stick is engaging the cymbal and not the shoulder of my stick. The same is true with the height of my hi-hat. It's just high enough that my right stick is able to clear my left stick, but it's low enough that when I go for a normal hit on the hi-hat, again, it's the tip of the stick that's hitting the cymbal and not the shoulder, unless I choose to use the shoulder of the stick. The second tip that's instantly going to improve your sound on the drums is making sure you are playing in the best spots possible on the drums and the cymbals. So for the drums, this is typically going to be close to the center of the head. This is where you get the clearest sound and the most articulate response, especially on the snare drum. On the ride cymbal and the hi-hat, we want to make sure that we're most of the time using the tip of the stick when we're playing these cymbals to not get too heavy of a sound by using the shoulder. However, on the hi-hat and the ride cymbal, we can use the shoulder if we choose to for that particular sound. But we don't want that to be our go-to sound because it can get really heavy. In our bass drum, I want to make sure that my bass drum beater is hitting the center of the drum as well, so make sure you adjust your beater position so it can get the punchiest sound out of your bass drum. In this playing example, you can see I am hitting in bad positions on all the drums and the cymbals. The sound is really thin and spread on the drums, and my hi-hat is way too loud compared to the rest of the drums because I'm playing with the shoulder of the stick. Now I'm going to switch to better playing zones. I'm with the tip of the stick on the hi-hat, and I'm going to aim for the center of the drums on my fill. The sound is much more full. I'm still using the same stick technique as I was previously. Much better. My final tip is kind of a general statement about how you're holding the sticks and overall approach and technique to the drums. And that is hold the sticks as relaxed as possible while you're playing. Drumsticks actually have natural vibrations in the wood themselves. You can hear that each of my sticks has a definite pitch, and this resonance translates to the sound on the drum set. So we want to make sure when we're holding the sticks, we're only gripping the stick firm enough to execute what we need to execute, and we are as relaxed as possible to allow for maximum resonance in our sound. Not only that, but it makes it much easier to move around the drums and produce a nice full sound if we're relaxed in our hands. In this playing example, I'm really squeezing my sticks way too hard. I'm squeezing down with all my fingers and over gripping. Even though I'm still turning my wrist, this is producing a really staccato, choked off sound as I'm playing. It also feels terrible. Now in this example, I've opened up my hand a little bit. I've relaxed my back fingers. The sound is much more relaxed and open. Especially on the toms as I'm going down, you can hear the sound is much more full. I hope you found these tips helpful. Happy practicing, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you appreciate the content. Thanks, everyone.